Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, coming to you from, I can't really remember, but Jeff is back in our studios at the Capital Region International Airport, and we're going to run up to Grand Rapids right now. Kim Bode, a frequent guest here and a good friend, is a dog rescuer, community advocate, and proud Michigan business owner at 834 Integrated Communications in Grand Rapids. Kim, it's always good to see you. How you doing?
Great. I'm doing great. Always doing great.
Yes, you are. That's it. That's that positive attitude. All right. So you've been a very regular guest here on Michigan Business Beat, but can you just reacquaint our audience a little bit with, who you are, what you do at 834?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stuff that gives you a little bit of credibility is I have owned 834. I started 834 19 years ago, and it was at as a communications company. We have since expanded into I call it the learning space or the schooling and tooling space, because I don't like workforce development. I don't like professional development. I just think it sounds so cold. So, because we deal in people, everything is about people. People are at the center of everything we do, whether it's communications, whether it's, learning or things like that. So we're a communications and learning company. We tell the stories of the people that matter, and we develop the humans living them.
I have to tell you that it's so wonderful to hear a kind of technology-based company say that at the bottom is always people, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it go or not go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations on keeping that in your head. So you're going to be set, and we are ecstatic to host a mini series. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have noticed as I travel around quite a bit and speak and deal a lot with business owners, whether it's small, mid-sized, large, and they are all really frustrated right now with talent and the early career professionals, you could say. They are choosing to not grow or choosing to not expand their businesses because it's hard. It's really hard. And all generations have their own challenges, but the generation entering the workforce right now seems to have broken some business owners. So we've started talking about the hard costs of soft skills, because there's a specific cost to employers, whether that's mental health or it's like the actual cost, the hard costs, like turnover cost, and like the cost of not hiring, and what that looks like, long-term growth and revenue wise, and how that's hitting your bottom line. So this series, the hard costs of soft skills, really digs in and explores, like, what are the pain points? What are we hearing? What is the cost as it relates to the different industries? And then, hey, has anybody talked to each other? Like, has Gen Z, or perhaps employers, maybe have you sat down and had a conversation? So, because there's a statistic out there that replacing an employee costs 50 to 200% of their annual salary. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's not true. And then I started to dig into it. And then we built a turnover calculator that pulled in that formula. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And so this is really just to bring awareness around it. And then it's also to talk about what the solve is.
It's interesting because I've heard that same figure too, and it is real, which means your biggest job is to make an effective hire so you don't have to go through all that, right? So it's interesting. Our latest Future Business Index showed that businesses are not hiring right now because of uncertainty and first time we've ever heard it, tariffs. But those two things are causing business to kind of pull in their horns. But their number one need is still talent, which means we're not hiring, but if a good person comes along, we want them badly. And that's
And
talking exactly to what you're talking about.
well, and I think too, what's the interesting part about it is we I run the Women's Entrepreneurial Fellowship, which is for second stage women-owned small businesses. And quick plug there, applications are open for the third cohort, which will start in October. We do a survey every time when before we start like the program. And our first cohort, the number one challenge was capital. This year, Guess what it was?
Yeah.
Wild guess, Chris. And it's talent and hiring. And so the great thing about that program is that we take that feedback and then we change the content or the sessions based on that. But what I'm realizing is that this is part of a larger whole and a bigger issue. And you're hearing things about declining birth rate and how that's impacting it, or how you've got a generation that's leaving the workforce and they're taking all this knowledge with them, but there's nobody to pass it on to. So it's a really, really big issue. And we are going to dig into it in a very fun way. And we will bring in Gen Z and we will talk to employers and we'll talk about that disconnect.
I think we'll all be surprised at probably the divergence which is necessary, but the gap which is present. And you're going to bring us there. Kim Bode, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll be right back to kick off actually your first issue. And you are, of course, the dog rescuer, community advocate, and proud Michigan business owner at 834 Integrated Communications in Grand Rapids. Kim Bode, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. And all of you have been watching this on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman. We'll be back with more.